Good morning, Lakeland. This is Mike and Matt in the morning. You're listening to Adorable Deplorables. Matt, want to go ahead and say your intro?
Oh, what's going on, everybody? What is going on today? We got a lot to talk about. We're going to start in the world of the Iowa caucus, and the winner is... Well, we don't know, because apparently there's been some sort of confusion amongst the results. We don't actually know what's going on. Ask any media outlet out there. Nobody knows what's going on. I mean, the Democrats, they don't even know what's going on in their own party. So to find out exactly who wins the Iowa caucus, stay tuned, because we don't even know. The news could break this hour. We don't even know. But no, I mean, there's been a lot going on in the world. The 911 calls from the Kobe Bryant helicopter, the recordings have been released. We know that for sure. Adam Schiff believes that once Trump is completely acquitted and exonerated, he might sell Alaska to the Russians. According to Adam Schiff, that's some breaking news. And apparently... Let's see, what else do we have here? So this was something that was brought to my attention the other day. So I'm scrolling through the Daily Wire, and I turn on the Ben Shapiro show, and he's talking about Joe Rogan. Now, everybody who knows Joe Rogan and watches his podcast or listens to his podcast or has seen anything politically that has to do with him, he's pretty middle of the aisle. Much like me, he's pretty middle of the aisle. And so somebody asked him, Joe, if you had a vote in California, where he lives, if you had a vote in the Democratic primary, who would you pick? And he said, Bernie Sanders. Because Bernie is the most consistent with his beliefs and doesn't change based on what the news media wants each candidate to represent. He stays the same. Well, this really surprised me because Bernie supporters are pretty loyal to each other, and because commies and socialists, they're pretty loyal to each other.
They go hand in
and
hand.
They're pretty loyal to support. They want the support, they need the support because 4 years ago Hillary rigged the whole election against him. So they need it now. And the backlash on Twitter was hilarious. They don't want, apparently not Bernie himself, but Bernie supporters don't want Joe Rogan's support because of the fact that he has had people on the other side of the aisle, like Ben Shapiro, like Steven Crowder, Alex Jones, men like that. He looks at both sides. He has both sides on his show. He talks to people from both sides. And, it's just so upsetting to hear this because you need, if you're a Bernie supporter, and if you're part of the Sanders campaign, you need people like this, people who are on the fence, people who are the middle of the pack, middle of the aisle people to come to your side. You need that. And you got to convince them one way or another that, hey, socialism, communism, whatever he stands for, all of these, whack job ideals, that they're going to work in this kind of country. You have to be able to take that and run with it. You can't disavow and separate yourself from someone who's kind of thinking, well, Trump's doing a great job, but maybe we need to go a different way. Maybe there's something, someone who has a better idea for, maybe, I don't know, our international diplomacy, or maybe there's one thing about, I'm kind of on the fence about women's rights. Should I vote for, Warren? Should I vote for Sanders, or should I keep voting for Trump? That kind of thing. People who don't really know. People who are libertarians, people who are Green Party people, they have no chance in hell if you're a third-party person. You have no chance in hell. And so that's what's it was just upsetting to hear that, because it's like, I don't support Sanders at all. I really don't. But Sanders is, to me, if I had to pick a Democrat to vote for, I'd pick Andrew Yang.
Mm-hmm.
I would definitely pick Andrew Yang because of the whole non-political bias.
So just like the Iowa caucus and the Democratic Party, I'm a little under the weather.
Yeah.
I'm not feeling too good. So, you know, I mean, I'm doing better, but I kind of sound a little stuffy. But
yeah,
that
I
was
mean,
what
we did watch the Toronto Raptors last week against the Cavs, and Mike watched his team, and they're so tragic. They feel that pain of losing Kawhi Leonard, gave him a virus.
Yeah,
so.
well, that's why we're on a 11-game win streak. So that's
Yeah.
I think we're recovering pretty well. But what I wanted to
congratulations, you beat the worst team in the NBA. Congratulations.
So what I want to bring up was the Andrew Yang thing, because it really does bother me how they still refuse to acknowledge this guy, and he's just some upstart dude who has an incredible business. He never filed bankruptcy once. He's super smart. I mean, you can literally listen to him talk for hours and hours and hours and not get bored of it, because he's just such an interesting guy. And on top of that, he is Asian American. It's definitely against the status quo of the Democratic Party, and what really bothers me is that they still refuse to acknowledge him. They projected that he's supposed to overtake Pete Buttigieg. How do you pronounce his last name? Whatever.
Call him Butt.
Yeah, he looks like one. Actually, he looks like the guy from Mad TV. You remember that? The old Mad TV logo? Doesn't he look like... Yeah, it's pretty scary.
He reminds me, actually, of... what is that guy's name? I'll think of it at some point.
Yeah.
But there's like this actor that looks like him, and he's like a comedian or something.
Yeah.
Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, no, the thing about Andrew Yang, and again, I definitely am on the right of the political spectrum.
Yeah.
I'm, conservative. I'd call myself more of a national conservative. However, the thing that I do like about Andrew Yang is that this guy goes on these talk shows, and he was on Tucker Carlson, and I guess there's like something about Tucker Carlson that he actually may be throwing his support behind Andrew Yang, because Andrew Yang can go on there, and unlike the other Democratic nominees, he doesn't waste hours and hours and hours talking about how bad Trump is. Oh, Orange Man, bad. Oh, well, the wall is bad, bad, bad. He goes on there and says, okay, yeah, I don't like Trump, but I'm going to talk about the things that I can do for this country, because you have Warren, who doesn't shut up about Trump. You have Biden, who's too busy smelling other little girls in the White House. You have Pete, who... honestly, I don't even think I know one thing that he's says he's going to do. I don't think he's ever talked about anything about his policies, whatever.
No, and that's the thing. If you look at the Democratic Party, if you've watched any of the debates for this election, it's all about the same thing. It's all about the same thing. Number one, you have to be against the president. You have to hate him religiously. You have to make sure that he is Satan, and he is the offspring of Satan, and you have to hate him. That is the number one thing. That qualifies you to be a Democrat. I call them Demoncrats, And then number two comes everything else. Everything else kind of plays in a line. Number two, climate change. Number three, all the rights, social justice warriors, all these stupid, ridiculous mindsets that they have. You have to start there. So then there's that. So it all kind of, it's like a ladder. Okay, from the top is hating Trump, and then you got to keep stepping down to get to the bottom. And eventually, that's what's going to happen in November. They're going to hit the bottom because they're going to lose. But Andrew Yang doesn't have that ladder. That's what I like about him, is that his idea is kind of what Trump's was to the Republican Party in 2016, just more cordial.
Yeah. And I got, by the way, I bought Andrew Yang's book, The War on Normal People, and I haven't really cracked into it yet.
Yeah.
But I looked at the first couple pages, and, the UBI, the Universal Basic Income, the thing that he's really is the backbone of his campaign. And I talked about it on, I think, our second show. that the UBI is actually a bipartisan policy because, one, yeah, you're helping these people be able to have extra funds in their pocket to pay bills, to do this, to do that. But at the same time, this money that you're going to be getting, and for anyone who doesn't know the UBI, you're getting $1,000 a month.
That I completely disagree with.
Why is that?
Because that money has to come from somewhere, just like the $15 an hour wage gap, or the wage, and free college. It's the same kind of mindset, just put in a different way.
Well, that's the thing is that money is coming out of these huge corporations like Amazon. But the thing is that,
But that's the original mindset behind the other way.
But here's the difference, though.
The other way. It's kind of like there's only so much money to go around from someone who's rich. One man can't feed a country.
Well, he's not saying just Amazon, but you have to look, too, that this money, where do you think people are going to buy? They're going to go to Amazon and buy something. It's a cycle. It's going back into the economy.
I mean, based on who you're giving the money to, I mean, you should give it to the people who have earned it, not the people who don't deserve it.
Well, that's the thing is anybody who's over 18
and that's not earning money. But
the thing is that the cost of living in the United States is it's incredible to see. I mean,
the first thing you should do, I believe, if you want to do this $1,000 thing, you shouldn't give it to them in a form of free money. You should give it to them towards their bills. So if a certain family is bringing in a certain amount of money, you should give them, say he won and he sticks with this program,
right.
He should give so-called, if you make a certain amount of money, say your poverty line, and your two highest bills are your heat bill and your electric bill. That should be what the $1,000 goes to, and then the rest should go straight into a grocery account. Whereas instead of giving, Joe down the street who's a heroin addict $1,000 to go buy drugs, I think it's a little more beneficial if you do that sort of thing rather than, just give someone free money. Because majority of people, you got to think that the mindset, the intention is much better than the actual result.
Right.
That's how I see his program working out. Because him as an individual, he's not going to go spend that money on drugs. He's not going to go spend that money on alcohol. He's not going to go spend that money on things that are useless to him or wrong for him or things that could be harmful to somebody else. He would probably spend that money on something beneficial for him and his family. Whereas someone from, an underprivileged area,
right.
They're going to spend that money on, marijuana, or they're going to spend that money on, whatever.
The thought behind it is that this $1,000 a month will be able to help these, underprivileged families to be able to afford, bills or be able to afford.
Right. But I'm saying that you got to think about it from the typical, okay, well, let's not make the mistake of putting our hands of trusting people,
right?
In the sense of, why are we trusting people who have let down others before? It's kind of like you need to qualify for it in the sense of the whole idea of America as a whole is that America is a place of the American dream, the idea of earning your way to the top, working your way to success. And Andrew Yang is kind of defeating that purpose when saying, here's a free $1,000 per month. He should give it to the people who have kept a job the longest with the same company, that they're not, because there's certain people out there that you give $1,000 to them, that's going to be gone within 2 days. They're going to buy purses. They're going to buy cars. Put that towards a car. They're going to put that towards something that's flashy. They're going to put it towards clothes. They're going to put it, and not clothes that they need, clothes
right.
that they want, put it towards a, Versace shirt that's $800. Well, dude, you could have bought 2 months worth of groceries. That kind of thing. It's a program, and it's a good start, but it could be reformed.
It could be reformed. Well, I'm actually on the Yang 2020 website. I was just looking over a couple things. And when you brought up the whole entire wouldn't people just buy drugs and alcohol with it, Andrew Yang, and I encourage everybody to watch this. It was the Joe Rogan podcast with Andrew Yang on there. And Rogan actually asked that question. He goes, Andrew, wouldn't people just spend money on drugs and alcohol? And Yang is a very graphy person. He loves graphs. He loves statistics. He loves all these things.
Something that I really respect
and
about
I
him.
really, really respect that. And one of the things he did brought up, and this is actually off the website right now, I just need a little refresher. The question on here is when people spend their money on dumb things like drugs and alcohol? And he goes, the data doesn't show this. In many of the studies where cash is given to the poor, there's been no increase in drug and alcohol use. In fact, many people use it to try and reduce their alcohol consumption or substance abuse. And I remember I told you about this, and a lot of people don't know, is that Alaska has been running the UBI for a long time. Alaska, people regularly put their petroleum dividend, because they get a petroleum dividend, which is the UBI. They regularly put that money into their children's education. And they've been doing this for a very long time.
The difference between Alaska is much separated. It's kind of like its own country. It's much separated.
Which will go to the Russians
politically.
if Trump gets acquitted.
Right. And I was actually about to bring that up after this.
Yeah, you need to bring that up. That's funny. I didn't hear about that.
Excuse me. You get me the coronavirus right away.
Oh, no.
I got a little Lyme disease on the side. But no, what I was going to say was, what was I going to say? Oh, yeah. Alaska is its own country, basically, when compared to the rest of the United States.
Right.
For a Texas-like sized state, you have a very small population due to the fact that it's
freezing.
That, and due to the fact that majority of it is just pure land.
Right.
And nobody wants to move there because it's basically Canada. So... And which is true. I mean, how many people that are American citizens want to move to another state? Why would you want to leave Miami and go live in Anchorage? I just, unless you're, this at heart, and I give it to you if you are. If you're this lumberjack dude that wants to go out and chop wood, go ahead, man. Like, seriously, if you hate getting tans and going to nightclubs in Miami, by all means, dude, move up there and go hunting. But anyway... that's a small population. That data is based off of a small population.
Right.
And that population, the people that live in more, when the weather, I call it weather discipline, because you can tell that people who live in areas like that, where the weather isn't always on their side, they don't have the opportunity to go out and, live the same lifestyle that people would live in Miami. They don't have that because they just don't. They stay in a lot. There's more family time. There's more. It's just proven that in Alaska, for sure, definitely in Alaska, there's less people. So you're basing this. He's basing this what is it?
The UBI.
UBI. I was going to say UTI. UBI. This UBI dividend, this program based on a small amount of people, and those people are a little more informed. They're a little more disciplined, and they don't, I would argue, I don't know the statistics based on my next point offhand, but I would assume that the drug rate in Alaska compared to other states is fairly low. So they don't need that money for drugs in the first place. Now, here's something. I really want to get to this because this is really funny.
Yeah, please do.
So the headline is great. This is from Fox News. Schiff warns that Trump could sell Alaska to Russia if unchecked. Representative Adam Schiff, The lead House impeachment manager warned on Monday that if Trump's dealings with Ukraine are not impeachable offenses, then nothing, absolutely nothing, would stand in his way from attempting bolder power grabs, going so far to claim Trump could use Alaska as a bargaining chip with the Russians for support in 2020.
Do you think Putin supports the UBI? In Alaska, if he takes Alaska back, do you think... Oi, petroleum dividend. You know, it's funny, actually.
Where is Andrew Yang? I need to talk to him.
Andrew Yang.
Mr. Yang, would you like some vodka?
By the way, it's funny. I think we scammed Russia out of Alaska. Russia used to own Alaska back in the 1800s, and we scammed them because I guess with today's money, I think Alaska... We bought Alaska from them for like maybe $1 million in today's money. Like, we scammed them so hard because there's so many resources in there, and the Russians had no idea.
Yeah, I mean,
and it's crazy to think that Russians were actually colonizing North America. By the way, it's just interesting to me that I've never, you know.
You know how many countries have actually been in Canada? That's why Canada is the way it is. It's like French and British people at heart. Like true French and British people. And everyone's like, no, they're their own country. It's
Canadians don't even have a national identity now as it is. So
no,
like,
the Trudeauians.
Oh, God.
And here's what the amazing quote by Schiff, as always, as Adam Schiff can do and say no wrong. He, quote, "If abuse of power is not impeachable, Trump could offer Alaska to the Russians in exchange for support in the next election, or decide to move to Mar-a-Lago permanently and let Jared Kushner run the country, delegating to him the decision whether to go to war," Schiff said. "Because those things are not necessarily criminal, this argument would allow that he could not be impeached for such abuses of power. Of course, this would be absurd. More than absurd, it would be dangerous." Cue Batman. Be dangerous. So basically,
well, first of all, is Schiff insane?
I mean, like. Let's see. Adam Schiff said that. Jennifer Barbosa for Congress. She said, she said, Adam Schiff said we have to impeach the president of the United States or he could offer Alaska to the Russians. What an insult to our intelligence. This Representative Jennifer Barbosa. I don't know where she's from, but probably a Republican. But just such a joke. I mean, you know, my family always asks me, you know, like my grandma asked me the one day, she goes, "So Matt, who do you like the most out of all these congressmen?" And I'm like, "Grandma, that's not the question you should be asking. You should be asking, who do I hate the most?" And it's like, I hate all of them, Democrats and Republicans. But the one there were three. There's three that I just, and if I had to pick one of the three, I'll give you the people. Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, and Adam Schiff. And it's so hard.
Yeah.
It's hard. I mean, it's like kill one, marry one. You know that game. I mean, you're trying to fit. It's like that. It's like, but the other way around. It's like, I don't know, man. I mean, I don't know. I probably hate Schiff the most.
Yeah, Schiff is a bit of a Schiff head.
Yeah. He's definitely a continual liar.
Yeah, he's an idiot.
And I feel like that term goes so lightly nowadays because there's so many people that are political warriors on Facebook and Twitter and all of social media that they believe that they could say whatever they want and start arguments. It baffles my mind.
By the way, do you remember like a while ago when the impeachment thing first started, What did you see on social media was regarding Schiff? There was an adult film star. She tweeted to Adam Schiff and said, "Do you remember what you did at this
Yes,
hotel
I remember
party?"
that.
Yeah, and there was like a weird picture of him with a little kid. I'm sorry, I just think it's kind of weird. I mean, there's a lot of that crap going on lately. Since
Well,
the
I mean,
Epstein
look at Joe Biden. I mean, Joe Biden,
Well, yeah,
you know,
he's-
smells people and touches their shoulders. All the girls.
And
I mean,
bites his wife's
and nobody
finger.
says anything about that. How come that's not out there? How come these
Yeah.
warriors that claim to be political God-sent angels who protest everything for the Democrats don't ever talk about that kind of
Right.
stuff? You know, but you know what you noticed? And I noticed this immediately after, you know, when the whole Ukrainian thing started, even middle of last year when there was that whistleblower and everything, and Trump said, you know, we need to investigate the Bidens, especially because, and let alone, you know, Joe's a pervert. All this stuff started to come out. All these pictures started to be shown
Right.
about Joe sniffing shoulders of people and whatever. And all of a sudden he was polling Hillary numbers from 2016. Like he was literally
He was
like,
projected to be
at the top, gonna destroy everybody. And then by probably December, he was like middle of the pack. Maybe he might win, maybe he won't. We don't know.
And now
and that's when the race opened up for anybody.
Right.
Even that Bouchard or whatever her name is, Michelle.
Yeah, I know.
She's from Minnesota.
I know you're
think.
talking about. It's no one knows who she is because she doesn't really exist.
I know.
she sits there. She sits there on the debate stage in the corner.
Well,
just
and you know
yeah.
what? Not that I agree with her at all.
Yeah.
But you have these people like Don Lemon, who I've grown to really hate.
Don Lemon is in.
He's a piece of garbage.
Yeah.
Living piece of garbage. When CNN hosts these debates and MSNBC, they focus on three people: Sanders, Warren, Biden. They don't, and Buttigieg to an extent.
To an extent, but
The other two, Yang and Butcher or whatever, Buchar.
and Tulsi Gabbard as well.
I mean, and Steve Steyer or whatever, Tom
Yeah,
Steyer.
Tom Steyer.
Well,
Well,
I mean,
They're
these
also
other-
focusing on Mike Bloomberg a lot lately too. Now
And Bloomberg.
he's a complete moron. I call him Mike Doomberg because God knows what he'll do.
yeah.
But they've been focusing on him a lot lately. But yeah, they leave out these other
They leave
candidates.
everybody else out because they're thinking like, you know, oh well, we just want three people to get recognition. That is disgusting.
That's terrible.
That's disgusting.
And have you noticed that those candidates that they're leaving out, like Tulsi and Yang, they're the ones who actually come forth and actually say like what they're planning on doing. They're not rolling on the whole entire, you know, Trump is the devil. They're not rolling on that.
Well, and another thing, what they do is to get recognition, they go on Fox.
Right.
You saw Andrew Yang. Immediately, he went on Fox. Steyer, whatever his name is, he was on Fox yesterday with not Tucker, Neil, something Neil.
Neil.
I don't like his voice. I don't like his broadcasting voice. And he's got glasses.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. Yeah, I forget
he's
his
a
name now.
host of his own show.
Yeah.
It was like midday too. He had Tom Steyer. That's what I want to say his name is.
Tom Steyer. Yeah.
But anyway, so these candidates that are kind of like middle of the pack.
Yeah, it's sad they have to go to their political rivals' main broadcasting network. You know what I mean? It's pretty sad Democrats have to go to Fox News to get some sort of recognition. It's really bad.
I mean, they say, you know, land of the free, home of the brave. You can vote for who you want for, do whatever you want. That's true for one side of the aisle.
Yeah.
We are inclusive. The other side isn't. They want rigged elections.
Right.
You know, the Democrats do what they blame the Republicans for.
Right.
It's hilarious. You know, it's ridiculous. They had the entire. If you remember in 2016, if you remember the scandal when, you know, Hillary reportedly, she was. I'll just say that she was capable of doing a lot of damage to people. We know through the whole Jeffrey Epstein thing that what she actually, her and Bill or the whole Clinton organization, what
Bill
they could have
Clinton.
done to him, and you know, he didn't kill himself. You know, we don't know exactly what happened, and the Clintons could have been involved.
Well, because the Clintons are involved in a lot of.
They're involved in a lot of it. If you
things.
remember in 2016, they were involved in a lot of
There was
people losing their jobs
Yep.
that worked for them or worked for the Democratic Party.
And all these
not
scandals
for them specifically.
and all these scandals doesn't even include the complete mess up of Benghazi. That doesn't even include that.
No, nobody talks about Benghazi.
Yeah,
nobody talks about it, and the people who do are shamed.
Do you remember when,
especially on social media and Facebook?
Right. Do you remember when it was 2016? Hillary and Bernie were button heads at who's going to take over, and it was looking like Bernie was going to take Hillary over, and it got to the point where those emails leaked. And do you remember in those emails Hillary was insulting Bernie for being Jewish? Do you remember that? Do you remember those emails? They declassified.
I don't remember
them.
that
You
part.
Don't remember? Yeah, look it up. You'll probably find it. But there was a bunch of emails where she was kind of insulting him for being Jewish, and Bernie said something around the lines of, I will never support Hillary Clinton if she wins, blah, blah, blah. Well, there was that video of Bernie, and everyone was shocked. A lot of people were mad at Bernie for this because Bernie was supporting an establishment person. After he went back on his promise to not supporting Hillary, but there was a couple of videos of Bernie standing next to Hillary, and Bernie looked like he got his butt beat up. Like it was so interesting because when he appeared and his eyes were really darkened, then all of a sudden he's like, "Oh, I support Hillary Clinton," blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, it was kind of weird. I believe he was threatened, or someone in his family was, because that's how they work. That's just how the Clintons work. And that's politics. That's today's, liberal politics. Is that maybe not liberal, because you have you could watch PragerU for this great description of the difference. Well, the difference between being a leftist and being a liberal.
Right.
Liberals have the democratic ideals, but they're very cordial. They're very quiet about them. They don't protest. They don't burn down cars and buildings, and they don't beat people up on the streets and protest and all that. They vote, and they don't talk. They just are very calm and collected. They'll vote for Sanders. They'll vote for Yang. They'll vote for someone. Okay, that's liberal idea. Then you have your leftists, who are the radical left, and that's just, it's sad. It's just these people that would rather they would rather start a problem and make it bigger,
right,
than fix a small problem. They would rather start a huge problem, let it grow to the point where it's unfixable, just to prove a point. That's the kind of people they are. It's disgusting. You can join the chat, as some of you have already done, or as one of you has done.
But by the way, we know who that is now.
Who? Yeah, it makes sense. Yeah. Oh, yeah, we have one viewer. We know who that is.
Oh.
So, for those of you that... another thing I wanted to get to today, let me go back to my handy-dandy app. Ew. There's like hair on this microphone.
That's gross.
It's great. Sanitizing is
sanitizing.
It's a farce here at Lakeland.
Let's look at some of the people.
So I want to talk about so yesterday. So not a lot of people understand this, but the incumbent still has to run.
Yeah.
So the Iowa caucus yesterday, we don't have the results with the Democrats yet because apparently somebody hacked or something got screwed up, of course, with the Democratic, the election process. So they don't have a winner. Everybody voted yesterday. It's over. But we don't know who won because the results are lost. Somebody lost the results.
How do you lose? How do you lose the result? Anything's possible with the DNC. So
anything's possible.
Anything's possible.
But Trump won Iowa with 97% of the votes. Former Massachusetts Governor Bill Weld and former Illinois Congressman Joe Walsh, primary challengers, walked away with about 1% each. RNC Chairwoman Ronna McDaniel congratulated the president, vowing he'll carry the state in November. Congratulations to the winner of the Iowa caucus, @Real Donald Trump. He won Iowa big in 2016. He's going to carry it again in November.
Wait, so were they making fun of that? Is that what they're doing?
No. That's the GOP chairwoman.
Oh,
She's talking to.
yeah,
She's
but the Iowa caucus, wasn't that only for the Democrats though?
No, because so
the incumbent is involved as well.
yeah,
Okay.
so everybody runs. So
okay.
it's like, just like, so at the Republican National Convention in 2016, a lot of people don't know this. Trump had the most votes and he carried all the delegates going into the RNC, the Republican National Convention. Now, some of those delegates mean people, right?
Yeah.
People from each state. Each state has a certain amount based on population. And what that means is, okay, well, if Pennsylvania has 12 and Ohio has 14, they're all going to vote. Trump won those states because of the people voting, not those delegates. Those delegates have a final say to go, well, I'm one of the 12 that are carried by Donald Trump, and I don't really support him, so I'm going to go for Cruz. They have a right at the end to go, but they only have one final vote. Like, does anybody from Pennsylvania deny the results? They hold it's like an auction.
Yeah.
Go where you want. That's kind of what the caucuses are, in a sense. And so they thought that's when Kasich and Cruz when they were going to get recognized in 2016. They thought, oh, maybe Trump might lose it, but it never happened, obviously. But so basically, now, even though they're their incumbent, they're the president, they have to run again based on the party's guidelines and standards. That's kind of like government standards for parties. Parties have those kinds of things.
Okay.
Because they're the main parties. The third parties really don't have that kind of thing. You know, you just get support and you roll.
Yeah.
You know, you kind of roll from there. So, Mike.
Yeah.
I wanted to do a little bit of questioning, a little bit of interviewing each other.
Oh, God.
So, okay. So, you ask me a political question, and I'll ask you a sports question, then we'll switch it up. How's that? Because we're both sports fans.
Yeah. I mean, so about what? Anything?
Yeah, anything.
Say anything? Okay.
Anything.
So, would you sell Alaska back to the Russians if you were President Trump?
Well, dude, in a heartbeat. I mean, why do we need a land? No, I'm just kidding. Apparently, we have so many great resources in Alaska that, yes, my girlfriend is Russian, but no,
Honey,
no,
I got you a gift here, state Alaska.
We are moving to your homeland. What? Alaska. No, I would never sell anything back to the Russians. I think, barring popular belief, being a Trump supporter, I am not a Russian supporter. So,
okay.
Even though Putin's kind of an OG, but go ahead.
Are you supposed to ask me now, or what are we doing?
Yeah.
What are we doing?
So I'll ask you a sports question. If the Toronto Raptors,
Oh, God.
if the Raptors had to trade one player from their starting five right now who are healthy,
Okay.
who should they trade? To what team should they trade that person to?
Wow.
And who for? What's their biggest need in the starting five? So there's Van Fleet, there's Anunbi, there's Pascal Siakam. That's three.
Serge
There's
taking
Serge
over for Mark right now.
And there's four. Who's four? Who's the shooting guard?
Norman Powell probably.
Norman Powell.
Or do we? No, because Kyle.
Kyle
I think it's Kyle and Fred doing backcourt.
Lowry and Van Fleet in the backcourt.
Okay. Yeah.
So if you had to trade, think of contracts, think of of the future, think of the season, think of everything. Throw it in a pot.
So
give me an answer.
I personally, if I was Masai Ujiri, who's the GM, I wouldn't trade anybody right now because we have a really good starting five. But if I had to, at gunpoint, Adam Silver is holding me at gunpoint and telling me I need to trade one of my players. Adam Silver is, by the way, the commissioner of the NBA. He looks like a rat, by the way.
He does.
He does. I would probably have to choose Serge,
Yeah.
and I like Serge a lot. Looks like my friend Wadzi.
Yeah.
I mean, it is identical. Put the two pictures next to each other, and they look identical. It's kind of funny. But I'd probably have to trade Serge for who, though? I don't think anybody would really want Ibaka because he's
there's teams out there.
There's teams that could use him, but is there teams that want him?
I could see Pete because he's making they signed him to an extension, right?
We signed him to an extension, and he's good. He's good.
I think they want the salary dump.
Yeah.
But trade him to like I could see him going to like.
I'm just trying to think of all the centers in the league right now, and honestly, if I had to choose, I'd probably go for somebody a little younger because I think Serge is like what 31, 32 right now.
Yeah.
Right? No, he's probably 29, 30, that range.
No, he's older.
He's older? Okay, so
I think he's 30, 31.
Okay, 30, 31. I'd probably want to go for somebody a little younger, maybe in their mids, like maybe 27.
Carl Anthony Towns. That'd be hilarious. Carl Cat.
Would I want Cat on the trap? No, I wouldn't.
No, that would ruin the chemistry.
Be terrible. Yeah, I don't know who I would really choose to trade Serge for. Wow, that's kind of. Like I'm drawing a blank on some of these like centers.
Well, maybe not a center, maybe a pick.
Well, that's what we would need. Oh, we could. I mean, yeah, we can get a pick, but actually, yeah, we could go for a pick because then we can have when Mark gets better, he can start again. And that one guy, you had no idea who he was when we were watching the game Thursday. Or who the hell is that guy? It was Chris Boucher, the guy that like no one's ever heard of, but he's so good. We can get him in the rotation right away. So yeah, I think I'd probably trade Serge for a pick. Get another young guy since we're so good with developing our young players. By the way, Terrence Davis, that one other guy that none of you knew who the hell that was, had a career high 31 the other day.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, dude was unknown. He was like 20 years old. I mean, we did really good with our young players, but.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Good.
So what am I asking you now? Sports question?
Whatever you want. Whatever you want. Sports, politics, doesn't matter.
Sports, politics. Okay. So if you were general manager of the Cavs, how would you fix your god awful team right now?
Oh God. I'm glad you asked me this question because I do this on 2K all the time. So first of all, you trade Kevin Love. You trade him to
God, he's so unhappy.
You trade him. He's terribly unhappy. He's depressed and now he hates his job. I mean, it's literally got to be like waking up. It's a nightmare and he can't wake up. He's in hell literally right now. While he makes millions of dollars. Think about that. Making millions, getting paid millions and millions of dollars to be in hell. Like that's literally Kevin Love's life right now. So I would trade Kevin Love. I would trade Tristan Thompson. I would clean house.
Yeah.
I would clean house basically. I would keep Garland. Basically, here's who I'd keep. I'd keep Sexton. I'd keep Garland. I would keep
Porter.
I would keep all the young guys and open up a bunch of salary cap space. And then if I had to re-sign anybody, I would try to do it in the offseason, but I'm not going to overpay for Tristan. What I'm going to do is draft. And I'm going to trade most of these guys for first-round picks. And then eventually what I'm going to do, because I don't think he's more of a scoring point guard. And why the hell we chose to draft a point guard after we drafted a point guard in 2018 and then we drafted a point guard in 2019. I mean, like, what is this, a bench player? Like,
right.
We need a starting five. I mean, it's like, oh, well, we couldn't get Williamson, so we're going to go out and grab Sexton 2.0. I mean, like, what the hell's the point of that? So eventually take a extra first round pick you get in a trade. Try to get that from Love or Tristan. You attach that pick to Colin Sexton. You go out and you get a young star player. Hook him up with Darius Garland. You go out and sign younger players from free agency. Try to get like a Michael Porter Jr. And get Kevin Porter Jr. to be there. Go small, similar to the Warriors and how they did it when they were young, and build through the youth, because you have a coach who's used to coaching college kids like John Beilein. You do that, and eventually in 5 years, 6 years, you make the playoffs, you start to build chemistry, and even if there's a little bit of fighting within the team, you don't clear house again. You don't trade. You don't go after LeBron when he's 39 years old.
Yeah.
You don't go after, when LeBron's legs are like, and he gets on the court and he can't run. You don't do that. You don't go after, you just keep them young. Keep them under 30 years old.
Yeah.
Everybody. The kid who picks his nose on the end of the bench, make sure he's 21, Give him a box of tissues. I don't care. Don't trade him. Do whatever you got to do. Keep them all young. Just like 2K. It's not that hard.
2K. Oh,
Kobe Altman. Play 2K one day, and you'll see it's not hard.
Yeah, just turn trade override on.
All right, so it's 11:01. We got to go.
Yeah, we're gonna
because the next show they really want to get on the mics, so we got to go. But for Mike, for me, and all you deplorables out there, stay adorable. We love you, and for all the Democrats, take a shower.
Take a shower.
Smell better. All right, have a good day.
All right, we will see you Thursday.